Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to ask what is the point of this camera, or perhaps better expressed, what is this camera for? And you may think that's not a particularly important question, but I'll give you a couple of good reasons why it is a very important question to ask about any camera. I'm speaking about the little Sony RX1R Mark II. But what I'm about to say about this camera could be applied to any camera, and it's particularly relevant if you're thinking of changing your camera or buying a new camera. This camera is the Sony RX1R Mark II, as I say, and it's 10 years old. It's 10 years since Sony started making this. It's based on the original Sony A7R Mark II, so that is about 10 years ago. It's interesting because it has a full frame sensor in a very small form factor. It's really quite a tiny little body that it's in. It has this full frame sensor and it has a 35mm Zeiss f2 lens that is just amazing quality. So the end result is that this camera takes incredibly high quality and excellent images, and I personally just really enjoy using this one. For my professional work, I have a Sony A1 and a Sony A7S Mark III, but for my hobby or my personal use, I just love using this little camera because I don't really lose anything in quality, and yet it is so small I can carry it around with me. But what is this camera for? Well, let's just first say what it's not for. It's not for sports. If you want to photograph sports, this camera would be useless for it because you can't get close to the action for certainly the vast majority of sports. It's not for wildlife for the same reason. You might be able to photograph your pets at home with it, but you won't get close to birds or other animals, and so it's not even a starter for that. It's not really particularly good for landscape either because it has this fixed 35mm lens, and often you want a wider lens than that. You might want to go to a 24 for landscape, or you might need to zoom in and use a telephoto for certain landscape images. And so the limitation of it being a fixed lens that you can't change makes it not ideal to be a landscape camera, unlike the A7R Mark II that it was based on, which is an interchangeable lens camera and is very suitable for landscape photography. So those are some of the things that it's not good for, but it's also not good for video. And the reason being that often a larger camera is better for video for two reasons. The larger camera is more stable in practice in use. And secondly, it's less likely to overheat. The really tiny form factor of this camera means that it really doesn't have much space around the sensor and the processor, so it's quite likely to overheat if you tried to record high-end 4K video. So now we know what the camera is not good for. What is it good for? Well, it's excellent for street photography. It's small and it's discreet, and it's light and it's easy to carry around. It won't get you observed too much while you're trying to just concentrate on your street photography. It isn't really going to make you stand out as a photographer who is intrusive in any way. It's great for travel photography because you can take it with you. It doesn't mean you've got to take a lot of gear with you. It's just really good for travel, and it's good to be an everyday camera for the enthusiast, or maybe for the professional who wants a camera to use when they're not actually delivering their professional work. The thing is, it's not really the kind of camera that someone should buy if they're just wanting a step up from their smartphone. This is definitely for the enthusiast because of the quality, the full frame sensor, and accordingly the price that it commands. Currently on the second-hand market, it's fetching around £2,000 in the UK, $2,000 in the US. So it has retained its value and is still very much sought after on the second-hand market. So it's good as an everyday camera for the enthusiast. It's great as a travel camera, and it's good for street photography. Now, having established all of that, What is the relevance of that? Well, the relevance of it is that I would love Sony to update this camera. It could easily be updated to the latest technology. This one is based on the A7R Mark II, but we could easily have one that is based on the A7R Mark V. So we would get the 61 megapixel sensor, we would get the new processor with the excellent autofocus and face recognition, all of the features that the new processor has, and we could retain the original form factor, we could retain the lens as it is. I'm not sure whether Sony still have the relationship with Zeiss that would allow them to do that, but if not, maybe it could be replaced with another similar quality lens. There are several things that I wouldn't necessarily want Sony to change in this camera. A lot of people complain about the battery size on this camera. It's a really tiny little battery that is used in the camera, and some people complain that it doesn't last a particularly long time. In my experience, it's absolutely fine for photography. You can get several hours of photography with this little battery. Not great for video, which is much more demanding on the battery, but I wouldn't want to change it, because if they changed it, then there would need to be a grip on the side to contain the larger Sony battery, and I think that would impact the form factor of the camera. So I'm very happy with the small battery, as you can carry several of them without any difficulty. I wouldn't want Sony necessarily to upgrade the video capability too much in this camera. It would be nice if it was a bit more capable than it currently is on video quality, but I wouldn't want to compromise the camera in any way, because it's just not a video centric camera. I'm also in doubt as to whether Sony should add anything significant in terms of in-body image stabilization to the camera, and the reason being that this tiny camera doesn't have much room in it for the movement of the sensor for in-body image stabilization. It doesn't have room for the little motors that you would have to add, and so consequently, if there was any indication that that would impact the form factor of the camera, then I would prefer just to leave it out, because personally I'm happy with it as it is. But there is one thing above all others that I would like Sony to provide in this camera, and that is weather sealing. The camera is not weather sealed, and for street photography, urban photography, travel photography, and just everyday carry, weather sealing would be an incredible advantage to it. So I would love it if it was weather sealed, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be weather sealed. So those are my views on the camera as to what should be changed and what shouldn't be changed if the camera is updated. But the relevance for everyone watching this video is that if you're going to buy a camera or replace your current camera, or you're going to recommend a camera for somebody else, knowing what you want that camera for is critical to choosing the camera that you ought to buy. Many cameras are jack of all trades and possibly masters of none. So personally, I would narrow down the purpose of what you want to shoot and buy a camera that is designed and adapted for that purpose. For me, for everyday carry, for street photography, for urban photography, and for travel photography, this camera fits the bill perfectly for me, but many others wouldn't, and that's why I don't use my professional cameras for those things. I do have, as I said earlier in the video, a Sony A1, but I don't ever take it out with me on street photography, because why would I? This camera is better adapted to that purpose than the Sony A1. You may disagree. I think people have views on these things. I personally love working with this camera, but give me your views. Let me know what you think is the ideal camera that fits the particular genres of photography that you love and get engaged with, and let me hear your thoughts on whether or not Sony should update this camera, and whether the points that I've made about the potential update would be the ones that you would choose also. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll see you in the next one.